scream tore through the school before anyone realized something was seriously wrong. Teachers and students froze. Nobody thought their regular Monday morning would end like this. This is about a 16-year-old girl whose last moments were spent trapped in a school restroom, calling for help that came too late. It happened at SMK Bandar Utama Damansara 4, a public school in suburban Malaysia, and it became the country's first ever school murder. This case was so shocking that it forced Malaysia to ask some serious questions about teens, violence, and the dark corners of the internet that some kids end up in. This is the Bandar Utama School stabbing case. Monday, October 14th, 2025, started like any other school day in this Malaysian neighborhood. Students hanging out between classes, teachers prepping lessons, the usual routine. Form 3 students, including 16-year-old Yap Xing Xuan, were in the middle of their academic assessments, basically their school finals. Around 9:10 to 9:30 a.m., screams cut through the normal school noise. They were coming from the girls' restroom, and suddenly this place that's supposed to be safe became something else entirely. Teachers rushed toward the sound, yelling for help. When they got to the restroom, the door was locked from the inside, and what they found when they finally got in would stay with them forever. 16-year-old Yap Xing Xuan was on the floor. She had severe injuries, blood on her clothes, wounds on her neck, chest, and legs. Some people said the suspect was seen in the area, saying things about what he'd done. The reality hit fast. This wasn't some random intruder. This was another student. Teachers called emergency services immediately while trying to keep other kids away from the scene. They were shaking, voices breaking, trying to stay calm when everything was falling apart. They secured the restroom, turning it from just another bathroom into a crime scene. Paramedics got there within minutes. They tried everything, but there was nothing they could do. The girl was pronounced dead at the scene. A place where kids are supposed to learn and feel safe, and a young girl's life was taken there. While this was happening, something else was going down on campus. Students were still moving through hallways, not really understanding what was happening yet. Some saw a boy walking around the assembly area acting strange, with a knife visible in his hand. A teacher who'd gone looking for Yap when she didn't come back to class spotted him and immediately told students to lock their classroom doors and stay put. The suspect's older sibling, who went to the same school along with several teachers, managed to restrain him. He didn't resist when they confronted him, but the damage was already done. So let me tell you about who Yap Xing Xuan actually was. She wasn't just another news story, but a real person whose life mattered. Xing Xuan was in Form 3J. She'd spent a year in a remedial class before joining Form 3, working hard to keep up. Her classmates and teachers described her as polite, kind, always willing to help out. The type of student who kept her head down, worked quietly, and made the people around her feel good. Adam, a 15-year-old classmate who'd known her since Form 1, remembered her well. She was a very polite girl. She never raised her voice, and she liked helping others. Last year, she was the class assistant, and I was the class monitor. We worked closely together. She was a good student and a very nice person. Another classmate called her a sweet and caring girl who just made school feel better. Xing Xuan wasn't just about schoolwork. She was athletic too. Just 2 days before she died, she'd won second place at the ISKL sports event in volleyball and badminton. Her mom, Wang Liping, described her as bright, disciplined, and loving, a daughter who never gave her trouble, who was organized, independent, and really affectionate. That Monday morning, Xing Xuan was sitting in her third-floor classroom taking her exam. Around 9:10 a.m., she asked to use the restroom. She left the classroom and headed down to the ground floor girls' bathroom. and she never made it back. After about 20 minutes, her teacher got worried and went to check. But instead of finding Xingxuan, the teacher saw an armed suspect acting erratically in the assembly area. She immediately told students to lock the classroom doors. And by the time teachers forced open that locked restroom door, it was already too late. The suspect arrested that day was a 14-year-old boy from the same school. He wasn't in Xingxuan's class, not even in her year. He was a Form 2 student, 2 years younger than her, and according to her family and classmates, they didn't really know each other. Police later said the suspect had been getting counseling at school, but not for mental health. The counseling was for learning difficulties, helping him with study methods. His 40-year-old father, who didn't want to be named, spoke to the press that same day. He was devastated. He described his son as introverted and quiet, someone who rarely spoke much at home. "I am heartbroken that my son did this," he told reporters. "I know that no matter what I say, it's useless. No matter what I do, I can't get their daughter back. I don't know how to face them." He said he dropped his son off at school that morning like any other day, and there was nothing unusual about his behavior. He couldn't believe his son would do something like this. But interestingly, the parents of the suspect reportedly never showed up at the victim's wake or sent any message to the family, which drew some criticism from the victim's relatives. How does a 14-year-old do something this violent? What pushes a teenager to this point? Investigators found that the suspect had been heavily influenced by violent content online, video games, social media, dark internet subcultures. 2 weapons were found on him, a knife and a karambit, both bought online. Karambit is a curved blade. On his body, police found handwritten notes with some pretty disturbing messages. One note said, "This world is fake. I have already won." The notes referenced gaming terms like NPC, non-player character, and quotes from the anime Death Note. Specifically, "Soda boku ga Kira da," which means, "Yes, I am Kira." Even more disturbing, there were references to American school shootings. The suspect had written about the 2022 Uvalde shooting, the 1999 Columbine massacre, even naming the shooters Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, and the film Zero Day, which was inspired by Columbine. Experts later said the attack wasn't some crime of passion, but something that came from serious psychological issues. The level of violence, 200 stab wounds, pointed to something way deeper than just teenage anger. Here's what we know about the attack, based on police reports and witnesses. The morning during the exam, Xingxuan left her 3rd-floor classroom and went to the ground floor girls' restroom. She went into a stall and locked the door. Totally normal thing anyone would do. But the suspect had other plans. According to what police told Xingxuan's mother, the 14-year-old boy climbed over the top of the stall and dropped down inside while she was trapped in there. The door was locked and she couldn't get out. And he attacked her with both weapons, the knife and karambit, stabbing her repeatedly. Xingxuan screamed for help. People heard her, teachers heard her, but by the time they got to the restroom, the suspect had already climbed back out and taken off, leaving Xingxuan locked inside, bleeding out. A Chinese language teacher noticed blood seeping from under the stall door. She heard faint cries for help. She knocked over and over, but got no answer. She ran to get a male teacher, and when they finally forced the door open, they found Xingxuan's body. Xingxuan's mother, Wong Liping, later revealed just how bad the injuries were. Early reports said 50 stab wounds, but Wong corrected that at a press conference, her voice breaking. Some websites said my daughter was stabbed 50 times, but the truth is, she was stabbed 200 times, from the neck to the lungs and also on her legs. The wounds were concentrated on the right side of her body, 200 stab wounds on her torso, neck, lungs, legs. The pathologist confirmed it. The level of violence was just incomprehensible. And once the news broke, it didn't take long for the shock to reach far beyond the school. The country had never seen a school murder before. This was new territory, and it shattered whatever sense of safety people thought schools had. And right after the incident, only about 300 out of over 1,000 students felt safe enough to come back to school. Classmates who'd seen the suspect holding the knife were traumatized, couldn't get that image out of their heads. "I feel uncomfortable going back to school," one student said. They set up counseling sessions fast, but the psychological damage was already there. And Adam, Xingxuan's classmate, admitted he hadn't gone to school for days because of the trauma. Teachers were struggling too. When more than 20 of them visited Xingxuan's wake on October 17th, several broke down crying. One Bahasa Melayu teacher who taught her completely lost it, sobbing as she paid her last respects. The wake was held at Nirvana Center, Kuala Lumpur, from October 16th to the 20th. Almost 500 people showed up: family, teachers, classmates, friends, even high-ranking government officials. Education Minister Fadlina Sidek came, Deputy Communications Minister Teo Ni Ching, several members of parliament. Even the Royal Palace sent a wreath on behalf of the King and Queen of Malaysia. Youth and Sports Minister Hannah Yeoh visited the wake and placed a Team Malaysia jersey with Xingxuan, honoring her love of sports. Yeoh wrote on Instagram, "As the nation bids farewell to our young Xingxuan today, our ministry honored her by placing our Team MAS jersey in her resting place. I told her mother, Wong Li-ping, that I wanted her to have our national jersey, and she said Xingxuan would have loved it. In the days to come, I will do whatever I can to fight the incel culture among the young." On October 20th, Xingxuan's body was cremated at Nirvana Crematorium in Shah Alam. There, her family gave a powerful message. They hoped that Xingxuan's goodbye would end the hatred and continue the love and kindness. After the tragedy, misinformation started spreading fast online. Early reports that it was a crime of passion, that the suspect had confessed his feeling to Xingxuan and killed her when she rejected him. But police shut that down quickly. Petaling Jaya Police Chief Shamsuddin Mamat clarified that while the boy did have feelings for Xingxuan, there was no indication he'd ever told her. Xingxuan's mother confirmed she never told us about anyone confessing feelings to her or being rejected by her. My daughter and the suspect did not know each other before this. There were also fake claims on social media that a family member was involved in the attack. Wong Li-ping's brother, Wong Yun Lim, had gone with her to claim her daughter's body. But some websites falsely said he was the suspect's father. Wong was devastated by the rumor. "That is not true," he said, and he lodged a police report. On top of that, scammers exploited the tragedy using fake QR codes to get donations. Wong warned people not to donate through those links. She said, "If you truly care, just come here to pay your respects to my daughter." On October 15th, the 14-year-old suspect was held for 7 days to help with the investigation under Section 302 of the Penal Code for murder. On October 21st, the Attorney General's chamber said they had enough to charge him. On October 22nd, 2025, the suspect was formally charged with murder under Section 302 at the Petaling Jaya Magistrates Court. He showed up with his parents, reportedly acting quiet and calm. But because the suspect is legally a child under the Child Act 2001, the suspect cannot get the death penalty no matter how serious the crime is. Instead, he'd be detained at the pleasure of the Yang di Pertuan Agong, which is basically Malaysia's king or the regional ruler, depending on where the crime happened. So it's not a fixed number of years. It depends on reviews and decisions made by the royal authority. The court also approved a request from the suspect's lawyer for him to get a psychiatric evaluation, and this will figure out his mental state when the offense happened. Lawyer Kitsun Fung, who was there as an amicus curiae, friend of the court, said, I know someone did lose their life, but given the accused circumstances, he too is a victim. Victim of his background, environment, mental state, or whatever caused him to behave this way. He said they needed expert insight to understand why this child did this, so the court can make a fair and well-informed decision. By October 20th, police had taken statements from 148 witnesses, students, teachers, school staff, counselors, and both families. After the tragedy, SMK Bandar Utama Damansara 4 went through a complete security overhaul. By November 2025, the school basically became a fortress. Metal detectors at the gates, police patrols every day. Every student's bag gets checked before they can enter. Any sharp object, even scissors, gets confiscated. If a student needs scissors, they have to get permission from a teacher. Mornings now mean long lines while students wait for bag checks. Some stopped bringing school bags entirely, just carrying water bottles and the basics to get through faster. Parents had mixed reactions. Some felt better with the increased security. Others transferred their kids to different schools, couldn't shake the fear. One parent, Hakim, said security has definitely increased, especially during drop-off and pickup hours. The number of students has gone down, and there is no denying that. But counseling is now more accessible, and that's helping those who stayed. Still, he admitted that the fear has not fully faded, but the school's response has made a difference. So here we are left with this question. How does a 14-year-old become capable of this kind of violence? The answer seems to be partly in the digital world. The suspect's notes showed a disturbing obsession with violent content, anime like Death Note, video games, American school shootings. Experts warn that constant exposure to violent imagery and extremist content online can desensitize young people to violence. Dr. Stephen Chow, president of the Addiction Medicine Association of Malaysia, called for better regulation of online games and platforms. Unregulated gaming and screen use have created a new generation of behavioral addictions that alter brain chemistry and emotional regulation. Why didn't anyone see this coming? The suspect had been getting counseling for learning difficulties, but not for behavioral or mental health issues. Selangor police said the school did everything it could with what they knew. But was that enough? Crime researcher Arpaner Selvam pointed out that many youth offenders involved in knife crimes in the UK had previously searched online for weapon-related content or engaged with violent online subcultures before their crimes. Could better monitoring of online behavior have stopped this? What does this mean for school safety in Malaysia? This was Malaysia's first school murder. It destroyed the idea that murder can't happen in schools. Metal detectors and bag checks are a start, but they're not the whole answer. As experts argue, we shouldn't only focus on detecting weapons. More importantly, we should detect signs of stress and emotional instability before a student acts dangerously. Malaysia is still processing this tragedy. Parents are scared, teachers are traumatized, students are trying to feel safe again. In response to the tragedy, leaders in Malaysia are now talking about how to prevent something like this from happening again. So starting in 2027, schools will move to a co-teaching model, meaning 2 teachers in 1 classroom. With more adults watching over students, it becomes easier to spot early warning signs, changes in behavior, bullying, stress, or a child who's quietly struggling. It also makes classes safer and gives students more support instead of letting problems go unnoticed. At the same time, the new curriculum aims to balance academics with values, discipline, and emotional development. The goal is to help students not just with exams, but with managing conflict, pressure, and their own feelings, skills that can reduce violence in the long run. And beyond schools, there's a growing call to strengthen youth mental health support across the country. That means better access to counselors, early screening for troubled kids, systems that protect victims, and safer spaces where students can speak up. And of course, these changes won't fix everything overnight, but they are meant to catch problems earlier, support children more effectively, and make school safer for everyone. Yap Xingxuan's last day started like any other. She woke up, got ready for school, sat for her exam. She asked to use the restroom, just a normal, everyday thing. And she never came back. Violence can come from places you don't expect. The digital world can mess with young minds in scary ways. And schools, places that are supposed to protect kids, aren't immune to tragedy. So we should talk more about the importance of paying attention, having empathy, and actually doing something. Xingxuan's life mattered, and her death shouldn't be for nothing. That is all for today. Thanks for watching.